Hello, Wendy. What? Whoa, wait a minute. How the fuck did you know we stayed here? Oh, yes, blast. How did we think to look for you here? In fact, I'm not even Wendy. You've got the wrong house. Search the entire city if you have to, or do a DNA test. Come to think of it, you're right, my dear. We did just guess you were Wendy without thinking. You mangy dogs, continue your search. Return to Neverland, directed by Robin Budd, and is the 2002 cinematically released sequel to Disney's 1953 animated classic Peter Pan. So Return to Neverland tells the story taking place in a significant period of time after the original film. Wendy's no longer a kid, she's officially grown up since Neverland has a age restriction on its R or 18 rating, just like on a book, movie or video game. Under 18s only can visit Neverland, but all those over 18 must stay grown up. Yeah, Wendy's a mother now. She has her daughter Jane, who's the protagonist of this movie, and also her son Danny, and her husband Edward is gone off to fight in World War II. And Jane, sadly, because of the war, goes from a believer in her mother's stories about Peter Pan to a non-believer due to the struggles of the war and keeping her family safe. And after a heated argument with Danny and Wendy, she goes on a coming-of-age journey to restore her belief in Peter Pan when none other than the dastardly frickin' codfish himself, Captain Hook, shows up at the nursery, kidnaps her, and plans to use her as bait to lure the boy who never grew up to his demise. And after Peter rescues Jane from Hook's clutches, Jane attempts to bond with Peter and the lost boys and restore her belief in fairies, and faith, trust and pixie dust show she can fly home to make amends with her family. This is my first Disney sequel review since Lion King 1.5 back in 2016. Damn, doesn't time fly? Finally, I'm returning to reviewing the Disney sequels, not just the most well-known Disney features. And of all of the sequels that the Mouse House has produced, the majority of them shitty, but some underrated gems in here. Return to Neverland is a superb Peter Pan sequel, no matter what the haters say. This movie received shitloads of backlash. They criticise the very existence of Return to Neverland. They say it's just a lazy cash grab sequel like the rest of their sequels that doesn't need to be made. But those who judge it, to me, are lazy. They are just harshly judging it just because it's a Disney sequel, and they pay no attention to the redeeming qualities this movie has. And if you look at this movie in thorough detail, when you do a versus video of this movie and compare it to all the other shitty cash grab Disney sequels that existed in the early 2000s, this movie isn't that bad. In fact, it ain't bad whatsoever. It is genuinely one of the better ones, and in my unpopular opinion, this may be one of the best, if not the best, Disney sequel periods. I'll go as far as saying Return to Neverland is superior to even the original Peter Pan. Yep. boldest statement ever. When I called the original Peter Pan the best Peter Pan movie that we've ever received, I also meant Return to Neverland. This shall be the most one-sided, biased, and most positive Return to Neverland review that you'll ever look up on YouTube. I'm sure. Nobody has called Return to Neverland a masterpiece or better than the original until now. So let's get right to my positives. Jane, for me, is a more interesting and more awesome and badass and awesome character than Wendy ever was. The idea of a non-believer entering Neverland is something that the original Peter Pan never even thought of. Sure, you may find her stubborn and serious personality unlikable, but I feel ever so sorry for her. Just because she's going for a phase, she's literally your older sister that denies the existence of Santa Claus. Everybody reaches that phase where they're just moody. I went through that phase in my teens and it sucked. Thankfully, I'm long past that phase by now. And that's exactly what Jane goes through throughout this movie. You wouldn't emotionally feel like shit if you were living through, the Blitz in London in World War II. The World War II moments in this movie are ambitious, maturely handled, and accurate. It's ballsy that Disney would include World War II in one of their animated classics. Yeah, the war side of this movie makes this movie better written than the frickin' critics say it is. And the voice acting is extraordinary. These voice actors may not be the original cast, but they put on such a perfect impression. They sound literally exactly like their original voice actors. So if I had told you that these characters weren't voiced by the same voice actors from the original, you'd be like, holy shit, no freaking way. Many complain about the Lost Boys song. These are the things we Lost Boys do. I don't get the hate for that song. That song's vital to developing Jane's social skills, which is what leads to her warming up to Peter and the Lost Boys and finally being convinced that Neverland exists, and it wasn't just a bedtime story that her mother told her when she was little. And I even liked Tinkerbell better in this movie. When Jane was like, I especially don't believe in fairies, and Tink's light will go out and Tink will literally fucking die if Jane doesn't change her mind about that. I was worried and concerned sick for Tinkerbell. I forgot her plans to murder Wendy in the original Peter Pan. I forgot the moments in this movie where she almost pushes Jane to her doom while flying. When Tinkerbell dies, it's kind of emotional. Jane feels ever so bad. She thinks she's literally murdered Tinkerbell and just grieves, and that's the moment when Tinkerbell is resurrected by Jane's change of heart. And the one thing that this movie for me more than improved and upped from the original was Captain Hook. His level of villainy in this movie raises from Man-Bat to the Joker. It was an edge of your seat moment, to say the least, when Captain Hook just shows up in the nursery out of nowhere and jumps Jane in a bag and whisks her off to Neverland. I'm like, how the heck did Captain Hook know Wendy's exact address? I guess he had the darling phone book in his plan. Well, my mama did explain to me that Peter would still occasionally visit Wendy in the nursery every now and again. So I guess Hook did check up on that while the Jolly Roger, his ship, still contains some of Tinkerbell's pixie dust. And Captain Hook's, they focus far more on his manipulative side in this movie than his comedic, in the moment where he literally offers Jane a ride home, the one thing she desires more than anything, if she can locate his treasure. And everybody just bitches on and on about the octopus coming in the place of the crocodile in this movie. I absolutely love the octopus, as long as the octopus delivers, the funny, hilarious shits with Hook that we saw in the first movie. I'm satisfied, and that's exactly what the octopus delivers. It's exactly the same as the crocodile, so there's no need to complain. In fact, if the crocodile had just reappeared in this movie, then this movie would have lacked an identity from the original. This movie, it pays homage to the original, and yes, it has its own identity. You can easily distinguish which one is the original and which one is Return to Neverland. And certainly, the greatest scene in this entire movie is the moment when Peter and Wendy finally meet after all this time. Thankfully, Peter didn't meet Wendy when she was, elderly. She'd be like, "Hello, Peter." No, but it's one of the saddest love stories in movies ever freaking told. They couldn't, be a couple, even though I would have loved them to be a couple, just because Peter just wanted to be a kid forever and be immortal, whereas Wendy decided to age and live a mortal life. It's a heartwarming and heart-wrenching moment at the same time. Yeah, but the haters of this movie, they forget about that scene. Even the soundtrack of Return to Neverland is something to marvel at. The electrifying "I'll Try" song perfectly captures Jane's emotional struggle. And what about my negatives? I seriously have none. Return to Neverland is a perfect Peter Pan sequel to me, and is one of the most underrated, not just Disney sequels, but underrated sequels of all time. I don't care what anybody says, Return to Neverland well and truly deserved its cinematic releases. It's one of the few Disney sequels are worthy of a cinematic release. Of the two sequels to receive a cinematic release, Return to Neverland is certainly the stronger film. Why the fuck did Jungle Book 2 receive a cinematic release? I have no freaking clue. To those who call Return to Neverland a bad movie, fingers crossed this review will convince you to give it a chance, and you have to admit that it's a better movie than Pan, and it's better than the 2003 Peter Pan. I take this movie over those inferior adaptations any day. I give Return to Neverland 5 stars out of 5. Best movie ever. I still stand by my honest thoughts on this movie, even from my childhood. Well, I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you think of Return to Neverland? And which do you like better, the original Peter Pan or Return to Neverland? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on Google Plus and on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I review the Lego Boy Master's Lego movie as requested by him. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.